We're in our third lesson now. Just to recap, we have done calculation or calculating ingredients for divided powders using one pure active ingredient, two pure active ingredients, and in this lesson we're going to be using triturate as a source of active ingredient. Of course, we're going to apply the least. Question says, calculate the ingredients necessary for preparing the prescription below using the stock of ephedrine sulfate 10% weight in weight powder triturate and phenobarbital powder, given the least weighable quantity of the balance used is 150 milligrams. First of all, we're going to have to interpret what the prescription is saying. Prescription says ephedrine sulfate 0.012 grams or 12 milligrams, phenobarbital 0.18 grams or 180 milligrams, MFT 12 charts. Now, a lot of students miss this portion of the prescription. MFT means mix and make. So this is saying mix and make 12 charts such that those 12 charts will contain ephedrine sulfate 12 milligrams, phenobarbital 180 milligrams. Now, what does that mean? That means that you're going to have to determine how many milligrams of each of these drugs will be contained in this chart. Now, we're going to look at this a little bit later. Okay, just want you to zero in on here that this is very, very important. We're going to look at the least weighable quantity that is observed for this particular question. It's 150 milligrams. We notice that we are to send 15 doses. Each chart is taken at night. So 15 doses means 15 days supply. As usual, because we are working with powders, we are calculating for 40% excess. Therefore, 40% excess of 15 would give you 6 tablets, 6 charts, and therefore the total number of charts that will be extemporaneously compounding would be 21 charts. I mentioned the MFT, so we're going to look at it in more detail. MFT 12 charts means mix and make 12 charts such that the 12 charts will contain 12 milligrams of ephedrine, 180 milligrams of phenobarbital. Now, as I always say, we can't make all 12 charts, can't weigh all 12 charts all at once. So therefore, we're going to have to determine how many milligrams of each of these drugs will be contained in one chart. 1 milligram would be for one chart for the ephedrine. 15 milligrams will be for one chart for the phenobarbital. Many students do not determine what one chart will be. They don't determine the unit. They go straight ahead. If 12 charts contain 12 milligrams, then 15 charts will contain X. There's nothing wrong with that, because you're going to get the same answers as you would see. However, you have to bear in mind that you're weighing each chart separately. And when you write your label, your concentration needs to say each chart containing 1 milligram of ephedrine, each chart containing 15 milligrams of phenobarbital. Invariably, when you calculate from 12 to 15, students tend to write each chart contain whatever the 15 will be calculated for, which is not going to be correct, and you would have lost so many marks for your labels. So I'm encouraging students to calculate the unit. When you calculate the unit, you can always look back to see how many milligrams of each drug will be contained in each chart. Next step would be to determine the total active ingredients needed for the 21 charts. This is just done by a simple multiplication of the number of charts times the amount of active ingredient that will be contained in one chart. So we find that 21 milligrams is for ephedrine sulfate and 315 milligrams is for phenobarbital. Next step is to determine if these ingredients are weighable. While phenobarbital at 350 milligrams is weighable, 21 milligrams of ephedrine sulfate is not. So the next step would be for us to determine the source of the active ingredients. The source for phenobarbital is the pure drug, but that of the ephedrine is from a powdered triturate. It's a 10% weight in weight powdered triturate. If you recall from your concentration lectures, you know that 10% simply means 10 grams is contained in every 100 grams of this powdered triturate. So from that concentration, we can now determine how many milligrams of this powdered triturate will contain the 21 milligrams of ephedrine that we need for our 21 charts. And that works out to be 0.21 grams, which is weighable. What then is this powdered triturate? You have these powdered triturates in the pharmacy, especially in a compounding pharmacy, so that you are able to weigh very potent drugs. So for instance, you would mix 10 grams of ephedrine with 90 grams of a diluent to make your 10% powdered triturate. And it is from this powdered triturate that you can get whatever amount of ephedrine that you need to make it weighable. This would have been provided for you, but there are times when the compounder will have to make it from scratch if it is not weighable. Say you never had the triturate powder here, you would have to make the 21 milligrams weighable. But that is in another lesson. So we're going to determine the powder needed for each chart to be weighable. As is customary, since we have two active ingredients, we are making a fixed combination chart. So it means that both ingredients, both the triturate powder and the pure powder, are going to be mixed to prepare your 21 charts. But remember, we are going to weigh each 21 charts separately. So it simply means that we have to determine how much powder is going to go in each of those charts. And that's 25 milligrams, which is not weighable. So it means then that your mixture of your active ingredients will need to be bulked up. In other words, we need to add diluent to this 525 milligrams in order to make each chart become weighable. So a diluent is needed. We're going to choose the amount of powder that will go in each chart that is weighable. Remember that we can let each chart weigh greater than or equal to the least weighable quantity, which in this case is 150 milligrams. Since one chart cannot be weighed because it's 25 milligrams, we're going to let one chart weigh 150. And again, you don't have to let it be 150, it can be 160, it can be 200, but we try to be as conservative as possible. So we're going to stick with the least weighable quantity. So if one chart will weigh 150 milligrams, and clearly 21 charts is going to weigh 3,150 milligrams. This means that the 210 milligrams of the ephedrine sulfate 10% powder triturate and the 315 milligrams of phenobarbital pure powder will be now mixed together homogeneously, along with a portion of diluent, whether it be starch or lactose, to give you a total powder mixture of 3,150. Therefore, in order to determine how much of that diluent we need to add to these two active ingredients, we need to subtract the total amount of active ingredients from the total powder mixture to get the amount of diluent that you excess that you would add. So your new formula is going to look like this. Ephedrine, sulfate 10% powder triturate. Recall you use 210 milligrams because this 210 milligrams will contain the 21 milligrams of ephedrine pure drug. And you also used 315 milligrams of phenobarbital, and you use the rest in the diluent, whether it be starch or lactose. You mixed all these three powders together using geometric dilution, and you weigh separately 10 portions of the formulation, each containing 150 milligrams of powder. Again, why are we only separately measuring 10 portions? This should be 15 portions. Okay, so we are going to mix all the three powders and weigh separately 15 portions because we are making 21 in excess, and we're only going to weigh 15 individually wrapped charts. So this is another. All right, so we're going to weigh 15 portions, wrap them individually as you would have seen in the previous video, and we're going to dispense it to the patient. Of course, the instruction remains the same, generally speaking. right?